Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel AMC Stock. Yet again, having a green day, up about 1.5% at the time of recording this video. Now, we are going to go over what to expect tomorrow. Any and all economic data that we have, we'll discuss it. And we do have a big set of data, and that will move our markets. But here in this video as well, I do want to talk about when we could see a broadening out of our markets, when you could actually see the average stock do well. Because let's be honest here, okay? The average stock has not done well. Since February of 2023, the Russell 2000 is up 5%. S&P 500 equal weight is up 4%. The S&P 500 is up 20%. And the Mag 7 is up 77%. So odds are, if you bought a stock back in February, you're either slightly positive on it or negative on it. It's because you've just seen such an outperformance of Mag 7, of really what it comes down to is concentration in these names. And typically, like in a normal market, maybe that's not terrible. Maybe that's to be expected to get a little bit more money in the higher end areas of the markets. Mag 7, your big tech names. But in this market environment, you're not seeing new money come into our markets. If anything, you're actually seeing outflows. At least to start 2024, the outflows have been around $40 billion of outflows in our markets. Like, money is not coming into our markets. It hasn't for a while in sizable numbers. What's happening is the money's just moving around. It's like this gets its turn, and then that gets its turn, and then that gets its turn. Well, right now it's in AI names. So I think if you really want to figure out when the markets broaden out, when there is, hundreds of billions of dollars able to be redeployed and put into other areas of our markets, that's when stocks broaden out. This seems pretty simple to me. Now, what's going to be coming next? Well, that's going to be very important. And we'll talk about it here in this video. Next week will be massively important. Nonetheless, hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and let's get started officially. So, with that being said, I think AMC stock could go pretty parabolic, pretty aggressive to the upside. Now, again, this comes with a little bit of a caveat, because at any point, Adam Aaron can dilute shareholders. And that does put a lid on what AMC stock will do. Now, let's give Adam Aaron the benefit of the doubt. Let's just imagine for a moment that they come out on earnings or any time now and say, we're not going to dilute shareholders anymore. That is your holy grail of good news. That is the best news you could possibly get. That is the news I am waiting for. When I get that news, I will go very long in AMC in a very short amount of time. Okay. Until we get that news, I'm a little bit more cautious with, options and some leveraged bets. But I do think the writing is on the wall for this. I do think it is coming. I think I've been a little bit early. I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. If it does not happen on earnings, if Adam Aaron says nothing about, not diluting shareholders or something along those lines, just doesn't even mention anything about a pause to dilution, then maybe I'm wrong. I mean, we'll see. But I don't think I'm wrong. I think it's probably coming this earnings. I think if Adam Aaron has any kind of advisors by him, they're probably saying that you got to stop diluting shareholders for a period of time to get the stock higher, because they need to dilute shareholders. Like, dilution will come down the line, but right now it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, what will actually broaden out this market is the fall of AI names, notably NVIDIA. This is so crazy. Notably NVIDIA, but the FOMO is unreal right now. Take a look at this headline. UBS chart analysts say short NVIDIA in 2024. See a correction in the stock. And then what do you have yesterday? UBS really taking the other side of that. They say NVIDIA target lifted at UBS as customers say it continues to raise prices. Now, let's see. Yeah, right here it says they raised their target price from $580 to $850 in a note on Tuesday. They say consumer discussions confirm NVIDIA's lead times have come in substantially over the past few months, meaning shipment slots are still available in the second half of 2024. Normally, this is bad, but demand for AI compute capacity is still so strong. In the near term, we think this just points to significant upside potential to shipments and revenue, the firm explained. Quote, we think NVIDIA beats on data center by $2.5 to $3 billion. A beat, $2.5, $3 billion. That's crazy. They expect revenue of about $19.5 billion versus the street's expectations of $16.8 billion, and total revenue of $23 billion versus the street's estimate of $20.2 billion. Quote, given supply chain work, we see enough capacity for NVIDIA to guide to 25 to 26 billion on total revenue. Meanwhile, customers have told the bank that NVIDIA continues to raise prices even on H100 despite the pending ramp of H200 and B100. Okay. I'm pointing this out because expectations are through the roof. Just meeting expectations. I mean, that's good, right? That's some good growth. But what? They expect them to beat by about $3 billion and then guide to 25 to 26 billion. Yeah, holy moly. I think NVIDIA is set up in a way it's not going to be able to shock investors. Take last earnings, for instance. NVIDIA, 3 earnings in a row, it's been the same story. Big beats, big guide up every time, precisely. Back-to-back 3 earnings. NVIDIA has actually sold off the last 3 earnings. Not the day of necessarily, but the next 4 to 8 weeks following NVIDIA's earnings, NVIDIA has lost 10 to 20%. 10% on the low side, I think 22% on the high side. Even last earnings, NVIDIA again did very well. The stock actually sold off 2.5% the day after earnings on a really good report. You're seeing that today in a lot of different stocks. When these stocks are reporting good numbers, good earnings, good guidance, sometimes some of them are just selling off. Airbnb is a good example of that. Last night. Now, if they miss, if something is bad, then you're subject to fall like 20%. I don't think NVIDIA's in that camp where something's going to be bad. Now, I find it interesting that data centers, UBS is expecting them to beat by so much because that's where AMD and Intel were a little on the weak side. That's why Intel fell following their earnings. So I find that quite notable that UBS expects that to be a strong spot for NVIDIA. Maybe that could be some good news. But point is, expectations are so high right now. No matter what NVIDIA gives us, it's going to be bad news. Like NVIDIA is going to have to come in with like 30 billion of revenue, I think, just to get the stock to go higher at this point. Because you're again, that expectations are just so high. Over the past 6 weeks or so, NVIDIA has added about $600 billion to its market cap. It's now more valuable than Microsoft on a market cap basis. That just means to me, $600 billion has gotten drained out of other stocks. Tesla's a notable name. It's lost $200 billion of market cap value. In the same time, NVIDIA has gained $600 billion. That's a notable spot that looks like has probably seen some outflows from the stock into NVIDIA. But I would argue most of our markets have been affected by NVIDIA and these semiconductors broadly. Now, again, I point out NVIDIA There are others, but NVIDIA specifically, because the market cap is just so high. The dollar amounts here are billions of dollars that are going in or leaving NVIDIA on a day-by-day basis. If you actually see NVIDIA sell off after earnings, like I think is possible, or not possible, but probable, given the last 3 earnings have been stellar beats, stellar guidance, and the stock has sold off all of those earnings. I think that's going to happen this time around. When that money disperses back into our markets, it's probably going into interest rate sensitive names, a name like an AMC, a name like a Fubo, a name like a PayPal. Some of these stocks that have been kind of beaten down, even Tesla again, we'll probably see quite a bit of inflows when that does happen. That's just my personal opinion here. Again, I want to be very clear. I'm not expecting some kind of disaster for NVIDIA. I'm not expecting, bad numbers. Not in the slightest bit am I trying to say that. The expectations are so high, the stock's probably going to fall after earnings. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, not a financial planner, but I do think that could be good for the lower quadrants of our markets. The higher quadrants of our markets, big tech, Mag 7, they've been sucking the life out of the lower end quadrants of our markets. Now, in a normal market, maybe that's not so bad because, maybe there's money coming into our markets. But when there's no money really coming into our markets, if anything, actually seeing outflows again, that sucking of money from the lower quadrants into the higher quadrants really creates this disparity. And I think you've been seeing this for a while, and maybe at least in the short term, it could see a bit of an end, all right? Bit of a relaxation, okay? So next week on Wednesday, that will be very, very important for, I think, AMC, for the lower quadrants of our markets. Now, coming tomorrow morning, you're going to get retail sales month over month. Last month was 0.6% of a gain. Huge month in December. You're expecting negative 0.1%. Now, on a month over month basis, that's actually pretty good. If you were positive 0.6% last month, if you're expected to come in negative 0.1% on a month over month basis, that still means you have roughly half of 1% net kind of growth there, right? Because last month was so large. Now, this is where you could come in quite low because December was so high. You could actually see quite a negative month over month number, maybe negative 0.3. That would actually be seen as good news for our markets right now, I believe. After all, look at the CPI report we got yesterday. It was pretty bad for markets because the economy is so hot. Now, retail sales have a very large impact on GDP estimates. So that will be important. It will move GDP estimates. We'll look at GDP estimates here in just a moment. But we will also get Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, New York Empire State Manufacturing Index. The last reading we got here was negative 43.7. So we'll see if that's still super negative. We're expecting negative 15 and expecting negative 8 on the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. You will also get initial jobless claims coming out tomorrow, export prices month over month, and import prices month over month also will have an effect to GDP at 9:15 in the morning, and you're going to get tons of other data in relation to this. The big one, the big things to be watching for are really inflationary kind of signals, which Philadelphia Fed prices paid will be important. That was positive 11.3 last month. If it goes more positive, maybe you get more inflation fears. But I think retail sales are going to be the big data point tomorrow. You will get industrial production month over month at 9:15 in the morning, expecting 0.3% positive. Last month was 0.1%. Business inventories come out at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, expecting 0.4%. Last month was negative 0.1%. And the housing market index comes out as well at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Now, 1:15 p.m., you will get Fed Waller that will speak. And that is pretty much it. So tomorrow does have a lot of potential to move the broader markets and to obviously move AMC stock as well. Now, AMC is up over 2% here on the day today. So pretty strong day. Now, if we look at the sentiment here on StockTwits, it's neutral at 52. 1 day ago, you were at 58. So, that's a little bit of a deceleration there in the bullish sentiment, but it's pretty comparable to yesterday overall. Message volume. is at 53 today, categorized as normal. Yesterday, you were at 51, so a little bit more message volume today and a lot more people talking about AMC with the participation ratio at 54. I believe yesterday it was at like 37 or so. So definitely a lot more participation that you are seeing in AMC. I think that is overall great news. Now, if we do get a lot of volatility over the next couple of days throughout the rest of this week, yeah, you're going to have quite a bit of option activity that could also add to that move, as I said in the last video. In the money calls currently at 30,000, out the money calls at about 93,000, in the money puts at 15,000, out the money puts at about 38,000. So tons of option activity that could help give us a move. And precisely at the time you guys are likely watching this video, we are getting earnings coming out from Albemarle, Twilio, Oxy, Cisco, Energy Transfer, AppLovin, Fastly, HubSpot, Upwork, and QuantumScape. Now, tomorrow morning, you're going to get Crocs, John Deere, EPAM, Yeti, Penn National Gaming, Oatly, Wendy's, and a couple other names as well. Thursday and after hours, that's going to be another big one. DraftKings, Coinbase, Roku, Trade Desk, DoorDash, Applied Materials, Toast, and Opendoor that will be reporting earnings. So over the next 24 hours or so, there's going to be quite a lot of action here in different stocks as far as earnings. So something to keep your eyes on nonetheless. Now, the percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average today is going higher today. 4.32% of stocks crossed above their 50-day moving average today. You're now at 49% of total stocks above their 50-day moving average. So, I mean, still less than 50%. That's a pretty rough number, but you know, a little bit of an improvement today is definitely good news rather than not. And I expect you will see this really start to go higher after NVIDIA's earnings. You will see a broadening out of this market. That is my personal opinion, but not until we get NVIDIA earnings, which are going to be next Wednesday. Just that money that you know, if NVIDIA does decline, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that could flow into other areas of our markets. I don't know how else. I don't know why you wouldn't see a broadening out of our markets at that point. And if that doesn't work, if the AI trade kind of dying down a little bit does not broaden out our markets, yeah, we got some problems. Okay. Now let's take a look at the Ortex data. You do have 12.16% short interest of your float, $137 million worth of short positions, days to cover 1.76, about 31 million shares that are currently sold short, 32 million shares currently out on loan, utilization of 48.23%, and a short score of 63.66 out of 100. And you do have a cost to borrow max sitting right here at about 1.47%. So all looks good there. I mean, the data has been getting a little bit better. We still only have this one trade, one order from hedge funds and institutions in AMC options, totaling $69,000 with a positive value of 100%. So there's that. And on a technical basis, I mean, I still think AMC stock can get up to that 50-day moving average, which continues to come down. So now it's at $5.29 per share. Call it almost $5.30 per share. The RSI at 50.85, and the MACD is pretty dang bullish as well. So I do think you know, there's still some gas in the tank here. But if you do see a broadening out of our markets, if you do see Adam Aron say, hey, we're not going to dilute shareholders for a period of time, I think AMC stock can break above $10 per share here in the near term. So that would be a rally of over 100%. Just my opinions, though. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.